and welcome to the inaugural show of Hot Flashes in the Pan. This is me in the kitchen with lots of things on fire and burning and so forth, just complete catastrophic chaos. And this is the way I always used to cook. Years ago, I always made sure I had a supply of Band-Aids and a supply of first aid cream because I was always cutting myself or burning myself or something. But over the years, I've gotten better, and I hardly ever cut myself or burn myself now, so I've taken the Band-Aids out of the kitchen. A lot of my friends have asked me to show them how I do some quick and easy, inexpensive ways to cook. So that's what we're going to try in a series of videos that I'll be putting together, and they'll be posted on my blog, LottiDaLadies.com, because Lottie-Da ladies are Southern ladies with an attitude. Genteel, but with an attitude. So you can go to my blog and check for updates. Right now, I'm going to show how we do preparation of vegetables so that you can quickly use them when you're preparing for dinner in batches of other things. So what I've done is I have picked up 2 packages of these yellow, red, and orange peppers, which are a lot softer and sweeter and milder than the green peppers. They're a little more expensive than the green, but they have much better taste. And by buying them in bulk from a warehouse store, such as Costco or Sam's, I got these at Sam's, you can get a much better deal on them. And, whoops, some of them are really big and some of them are really small. What I'm going to do is take the smaller ones, and I'm going to cut all of these up now and put them into Ziploc bags. And the larger ones I'm going to save, and I'm going to make a batch to make stuffed bell peppers. And then what I do is I make all of them at one time, freeze them in small Ziploc packages, because it's just myself and my husband, and it's hard to cook for 2 people inexpensively or quickly. So I make big batches of things, freeze them, and we can have them in a matter of minutes when we're hungry and we've worked late and we want a quick meal without having to go out to a restaurant. So years ago, we used to eat out all the time because we worked 80, 90, 100 hours a week at our company. And in the past few years, we've kind of semi-retired. So now I have a little bit more time, which has given me more time to cook. Now, a lot of women who are homemakers and they also work outside the home don't have a lot of time. The ideal situation would be to take a whole day or an afternoon and cook up big batches of things. But I know hardly anybody has a whole afternoon to cook. So even if you have 15 minutes here or there, you can cook up something, freeze it, and you're good to go for other meals. So what we're going to do today is we're just going to cut up these peppers. And you can cut up peppers, and you can cut up onions, celery. A lot of times you'll get things on sale, or like where we live in Northeast Florida, there is a lot of farms in the area, so there's local farmers markets, so we can get a lot of fresh vegetables. However, you have to cut them up very quickly, or else, everything goes bad and you've wasted your money. So I'm going to show you through a series of videos how to keep that from happening. Now we're going to step over here. We're going to step over here, and we're going to start cutting up our vegetables. Now I'm going to use a couple of different knives. Now also what I like to do, especially if I'm cutting up something that has a strong scent, or especially like onions, and also when I'm working with any kind of meat or fish, I get these little inexpensive gloves, and I pick these up at either Sam's or Costco either in a big double pack. But they keep your hands from getting all wrinkly with all the vegetable juices. And especially if you're cutting up onions, you don't have that onion smell on your hands. So we're going to be sure we thoroughly wash all of these vegetables. When I say thoroughly wash, I run them under some warm water. Some people like to use that vegetable spray and all like that, but I think a good washing and a scrubbing, if you want to use a little soap, you can do that, but we're just going to quickly rinse them off because they should have been rinsed numerous times in the production facility. But what we're going to do is cut all of these vegetables up, put them in Ziploc bags. Then when you're ready to make anything that would have to do with peppers, you can either pull out a handful or put in a whole bag, depending on what your recipe is. Now in one of the later videos, I am going to show you how I make my base meat, ground meat mixture that I use in spaghetti sauce. I use it in stuffed bell peppers. I use it in tacos. I use it in enchiladas. And again, I make a big pot all at one time. I put it in smaller Ziploc bags. And then all you have to do is pull it out. Let me put this in the trash. Okay. Now I use a smaller knife to cut out the insides. And also I will say I am not a professionally trained chef. I'm not a professionally trained cook. I'm just a good old Southern girl. Actually, I'm from Texas, so I would be considered a Texan. However, Texas is also considered part of the South. Not like the deep South of Mississippi or Alabama or Georgia. But now that we're living in Northeast Florida, I am considered also part of the South. So we're going to cut these little stems off just real quick so that we can get the seeds out. And then I'm going to cut them in half so I can get all of this other yucky stuff out. And if you notice, I'm using a little bowl to put my scraps in. Some of my ideas I've gotten from different TV shows or magazine articles or things that other friends have told me about that they do. So if I don't credit who I got the idea from, it's probably because I don't remember. But I think Rachel Ray uses this little bowl off to the side, and it makes it handy because then you can just dump everything in the trash, or if you compost, you can compost it. And you want to get all those little seeds out. I also kind of rinse them one more time. And you can get some paper towels and kind of drain them after you rinse them off. Now, if I was making my stuffed bell peppers, I would just cut these in half like this, or you could cut them in half the other way, and leave the little tops on. Or you can leave them as whole and make the whole stuffed bell pepper. Sometimes these peppers are so big, my husband and I find out that by the time I stuff them with everything, we can only eat a half of one. So this one bag would be for 6 meals for us. However, if you're a hearty eater, it might be less. Because what we basically do is just eat one pepper between the two of us. I'm going to drain these a little bit. And on another video that I'll be doing soon, I'll show you how I make my ground meat base. And you can use either I use ground sirloin or ground turkey. Or you can use, chuck or any kind of lean ground meat. If you're real adventuresome, you might could use buffalo, ground buffalo meat. We tried that one time, but it was a little gamey. I don't know, we didn't really like it. And it was terribly expensive. What I'm trying to do is show you how to do this on an economy scale, especially in today's market. Again, if you can get fresh vegetables from the farmer's market, that's even better. But you can go to your local grocery store or warehouse store. But I find sometimes when you go to the warehouse store, you have to buy it in such bulk that it goes bad before you can eat it. That's why I started cutting all this stuff up in advance. And if you can do it like within a day or two after coming back from the store, then it's even better. Because then you don't have that big bulky package in the refrigerator taking up a lot of room. Okay, we just about got all of this cleaned out. And our scraps are in the bowl. And they're doing some draining. They don't have to be completely dry, but get some of the water off. And I like to use my little bamboo cutting board. Now, this is a serrated knife that I find easier in cutting these peppers. A lot of people like this kind of a chef knife, and this is good, I find, for lettuce and things. So it just depends, but if it has a little skin on it, like a tomato, I find that the serrated knife, at least for me, works a lot better. Now you can have all kind of fancy chopping equipments, like that one that guy always advertises, chop whatever, chop something that you get on the internet. And you can have mandolins and all sorts of things. But I just find a plain old knife and a cutting board works for me. Now what I'm doing is I'm cutting these into little strips about yay big. I like chunky vegetables in my mixes. I don't like them all teeny tiny, because then it kind of you don't get that texture and the color. So I like to just kind of cut them into strips, and then I cut them across like so, and to get them about that size, about the size of a sugar cube. And what I'll do is I'll put a whole orange one in. I'm going to put it in the bowl, because I like to kind of have it evenly mixed between the orange, yellow, and red. Because when I make my different meat dishes or spaghetti sauces or anything like that, I kind of like to have an even mixture. And see, I'm not using any kind of fancy equipment. You can use any kind of knife that you have in your kitchen, or a plastic cutting board or glass cutting board. See, and again, see, I've just got this into little chunks. So we're going to put this in the bowl.